Welcome to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison.
I'm Molly, a former skeptic turned full-time energy healer and teacher.
And I'm Madison, a born and raised witch running my family's crystal shop.
And we're here to explore all things woo through the lens of both science and spirituality so that you can find the moments of magic in your everyday life and create an intentional spiritual practice.
So if that's what you're into, find a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's demystify some magic.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody.
Hi, friend.
Hi, friend. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm ready to use my throat today.
I know you're dressed for the occasion.
Thank you. I've been trying to incorporate at least one themed item.
I will say last week, I literally wore a yellow shirt for the first time in probably 10 years. And I was like rocking it. I was like, we're solar plexusing all the live long day.
I've included one clothing item every week that goes along with the chakra that we're discussing. Have you guys seen it? No.
I think I've worn this same shirt every time we've recorded.
You have.
My probably smut book club shirt.
I like the idea that that's what you just wear every day. You're like a cartoon character.
Okay, to be fair, when I worked at a retirement community, I had a Monday outfit, a Tuesday outfit, a Wednesday outfit, a Thursday outfit, and a Friday outfit.
It's very Steve Jobs of you.
Well, it was just easier to keep track of.
That's how you help everybody remember what day it is.
It's the same outfit in multiple colors. So it's like the residents who only came to bingo on like Wednesdays, they thought I just wore the same thing every single day.
That's giving them a lot of credit to think that they are paying attention and remember what you're wearing every week.
They were, because they would mention it.
You're just doing it for continuity. I said that I was in Atlanta this past weekend seeing some of my really good friends who have a baby, and she sent me some pictures from the time that I went to visit, like right after he was born.
You were wearing the same shirt.
Wearing the same shirt, and I bring it every time I go to Atlanta. She did buy the shirt for me, but I'm like, oh, I'm just making sure the baby remembers who I am.
Oh, I love that. I love that. While we're giggling and hee-hawing, tell me about your magic moment this week.
So my magic moment this week, actually going off of the fact that I was in Atlanta, is I got my first tarot tattoo. This weekend.
What?
Yeah. Hold on. I'll show you.
What does it say? I like your socks, by the way.
Thank you. It doesn't say anything. It's 3 cups. It's the 3 of cups. Wait,
can I say it again?
Yeah. You're just going to make me stretch my leg. God, my hamstrings are so tight.
It's on the back of her calf. Those look like arrows in the Zoom, but I believe you that they're cups. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Hold on.
Ow, that really hurt. That was a really tough position to be in.
Stretch out the other side.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, while we're here.
Why the 3 of cups? Tell me about the cups.
Because it's the card of friendship, and I got it as a matching tattoo with my friend who has the baby. Hi, Bridget. You listen to this podcast, I think.
Cute.
And it's something that we've talked about doing for like years. We met when I was 18, and we've joked about getting matching tattoos since then. So it's been almost 10 years.
We've joked about that too.
I know. And
little mouse pendulums.
Listen, I get it. People have really strong feelings about getting tattoos with people that you're close to in your life. I respect that. I love a silly little matching tattoo.
I have one. My bub tattoo, except none of the bubs in my group also got one.
So not a matching tattoo at all. My friend, her mom backed out of a matching tattoo. And so she just has it and her mom does it. And I
love
so
mine. Funny. It's in their handwriting. It's in my bub's handwriting.
That's cute.
Yeah, that's what we call our friend group. So every time I see them, I'm like, when are you guys going to get your tattoos? It's been 7 years.
When are you going to cement this relationship like I have?
They're like, yeah, we'll get on it. They don't have any tattoos. So it's like, that's fair.
Yeah. What was your magic moment?
My magic moment involves you.
Oh, wait,
and
really?
This podcast.
Oh, hi.
Hi. So,
it's me.
My magic moment was putting together our songs to cry to playlist.
That was so fun.
It was so fun. The part that was fun for me was seeing the vast duality between our two musical tastes.
Oh, yeah. What I need now what I need is for everyone, I need everyone to like pick out the songs and make 2 separate playlists and tell me what you think was me and what you think was Molly.
Yeah. If you want to play a fun game, we'll leave it in the show notes again. If you want to play a fun game, listen to it on shuffle and make your assumptions on who put which song into the playlist.
Yes, and
I
vote.
did that. I've been listening to it while I drive. It doesn't even make me cry anymore because I just think it's so funny.
Oh, wait. I think you can. This is where we're both giving Boomer. I think that you can see
you can
who added
see.
what.
That's why I said put it on shuffle so that you're not looking at it.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah, put it on shuffle and make your guesses and then make a tally of how many you get right. And tell us.
Fun game.
Really fun game. It's once you start to see the duality, you can't unsee it. It's so funny to me because the differences between some of the songs are so stark. I'm like, how are we friends? Genuinely.
That was really fun.
To be fair, I pulled a bunch of songs. I pulled every song that I can remember crying to. And a lot of those are from when I was 15, 16, and 17. So, I mean, I still listen to them. But there are definitely, I like to call it the deep cuts of my emo era that never ended.
Yeah. And I will be continuing to add to this playlist.
Absolutely.
Even as recently as like last night, I was like, oh, I have one to add. So when new songs to cry to come out, like keep abreast of the situation with the playlist because it's going to be evolving.
I also was thinking about how fun it would have been if we made a playlist for every single chakra.
Listen. Would it be fun? Yes. Maybe once per quarter, I give you a new playlist.
What if we make one for the throat, like songs to sing in your car to?
Okay. Oh, I'm into that.
All right. We'll drop that in the show notes.
Okay. I'll get to work.
Oh, speaking of the throat chakra. Another easy one to remember where it is. It is located in your throat. And I think the throat chakra is so interesting. One of my teachers calls it the bottleneck of the chakra system because up until this point, we've had everything, all of the energy centers are sort of relating to inward focus, right? Our sense of safety, your sense of security, your sense of passion, creativity, confidence, connection. And the throat is really the first time that the energetic system turns outward, right? It's sort of that bridge between what's within and what's going out, and what you're vocalizing about those lower chakras. And so again, because they all stack on each other, you can imagine if you did not feel safe, a la the root chakra, which you have already listened to that episode if you're here, right?
Right.
If not, stop now. Do not pass go.
Thou shalt not pass.
But seriously though, if you don't feel safe, a la the root chakra, if you don't feel passionate, a la the sacral chakra, or trusting, a la the sacral chakra, if you don't feel confident, you don't feel like you are empowered, if you don't feel connected to the words that you're saying, how can you possibly speak what's in your heart? Right? And so this is really where one of those where a lot of people think they have throat work to do, when in reality, it's one of the lower ones that is blocking the throat because they're so connected. If you don't feel safe, you are not going to set boundaries. If you don't feel empowered, you're not in your power, you're not confident, you're not going to be able to speak your truth, right? And so the throat chakra is all about communication, right? Both outward and inward. How are we communicating outwardly? How are we speaking about ourselves? How are we speaking to other people? How are we vocalizing our boundaries? And also, how are we absorbing other people's speech? Right? It's connected to your throat, your mouth, but also your ears, right? We got 2 ears and 1 mouth because we're supposed to listen twice as much as we talk or whatever the saying is. And so this is really going to show up as, I think of all of those phrases like cat got your tongue or there's a frog in your throat. Right? It's on the tip of my tongue. If you find yourself struggling to find the words, struggling to get the words out, struggling to speak your truth, or I know for me, when I was doing a lot of root chakra work, this would show up for me as whenever I had to have even like the most baseline difficult conversation that like wasn't even hard in retrospect, like I just had to tell someone that like I needed to take a day off or whatever, I would cry. I would cry anytime I approached something even like remotely serious, and it would just like get stuck in my throat, and I wouldn't be able to like, even if it was, you know, I don't even know why I'm crying, you know, those moments. That could be a sign of throat chakra work as well.
Yeah, I think what's interesting for me, like the throat almost gets often left behind for me because there's so much like supportive work that I spend much more time on, that I almost feel like that it's such a good testament to the way that the chakras are so intertwined. And it feels like almost when everything else is balanced underneath it, things just slide into place. In a way that when we were thinking about like talking about doing this episode, I was like, oh, I don't even really know how I really do work on my throat.
Yeah.
Because it is so intrinsic to the other chakras that it feels hard to isolate.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by like the bottleneck is everything from the throat up is really a reflection of everything from the throat down.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you have done your foundational work, if you've done that work in the first 3 chakras especially, but also the heart, your throat's going to be easy. Comparatively. Your third eye is going to be easy. Your crown is going to be easy. It's when we have a really strong imbalance below that it gets a little bit wiggledy-wobbledy, to use a technical term.
Yeah.
I also think if you're wondering if you have an imbalance in the throat, something that I have noticed is this shows up for me when I'm singing in my car. So I always do this ritual before I go and teach in person. I do, this might be getting into like low effort rituals, but I don't think I've ever told you this. I have an album that I will sing start to finish. It's the exact amount of time it takes for me to get from my house to the place that I teach when I teach in person. And it's Jack's Mannequin's Everything in Transit album, which I'm sure you've heard. If you were alive in the early 2000s, you've heard it. But I love it because it's in my vocal range. Like I don't have to strain my voice, but when I am ungrounded, when my throat is out of alignment, it feels like I'm straining my voice. So I have to physically ground into my body, ground my breath into my diaphragm, and then I can sing it really easily. And I think that is like a testament to the throat chakra. If you've had any sort of vocal training, it's not about what you're doing with your throat. It's all about what you're doing with your diaphragm. It's all about how you're holding your physical body. Everything below the throat affects the throat and up.
It's so funny you say that. That's exactly, I have the exact same ritual on my way to therapy.
Cute.
Back in, I guess it was 2022. This is I will brag on this because I did like Chapel Roan before she was cool. I
was waiting for when that would come up in the pod.
I have to say it. I'll say it just once and then I'll move on. But back in 2022, I had a therapist who I had to drive like 15, 20 minutes to. And I would play Pink Pony Club over and over and over. Not in my vocal range. But that's besides the point. I would scream it over and over on my way to therapy. And it was like it was how I got myself I got myself ready to let it all out, was by letting it all out with Chapel.
I like that.
Highly recommend.
Yeah.
So if you've been following along with the color magic, the throat chakra is blue. And if you are interested in using some sound healing, you're going to be Googling 741 hertz.
Or the seed sound is ham, H-A-M, which you can remember because when you eat ham, it goes down your throat.
Perfect. Hum.
And speaking of humming, our first low effort ritual is to hum.
I hate it. I hate it here.
But seriously, I really love humming. So my recommendation to people, this is really important. I see throat imbalances most often in people who do some sort of emotional labor for people and they can't tell anyone about it. So like doctors who are under HIPAA, advocates who are under confidentiality, therapists, right? Like you can't share what's been coming in. So it creates a block in the throat. And so one thing that you can do on your drive home or drive to the office, just like Madison just said, is vocalizing in some way. So if you are like, the idea of singing in my car terrifies me, but I know I need to like work on my throat, hum. Do some kind of vocal warm up. Even gargling with salt water is going to help move that energy through until you get to the point where you can sing, or you can, sometimes I'll pep talk myself in the car. Like I'll pretend like I'm being interviewed by Oprah. It's really a manifestation technique, because one day y'all are going to be listening to this after you watch me on Oprah's show. Does Oprah still have a show?
I don't think so.
I'm really prepping for when I get interviewed by Drew Barrymore. It's really a manifestation technique.
No, listen.
Because some of you...
Oprah is going to start her show back up just so she can interview you.
Okay, but so will Drew Barrymore. And then some of you will clip this audio from this podcast episode and put it online and be like, I knew her when. Just like Madison said she knew Chapel before Chapel
exactly.
was cool.
Yeah. You'll be saying, I listened to Molly on my way to therapy before she was cool.
But yeah, any of that kind of like, I really recommend creating a playlist that you can't help but singing to in your car. Madison and I are going to put one together with our favorites. But I have one, I call it the Classic Space Jam. And it's all of the songs from the early 2000s and late 1990s that like, if they come on the radio, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is my jam. Like Breakfast at Tiffany's, right? What's that one by Uncle Cracker? Follow Me? Can't help but sing that song.
What's that one by Uncle Cracker? That was the whitest thing I've ever seen.
Again, it's in my vocal range, all right? As an alto tenor.
I'm not hating.
It's hard to find songs that I can sing without straining.
Well, I'm really happy that Uncle Cracker can give that to you. Something else that you can do, especially if you're one of those people that Molly was talking about, that like the things that you experience are protected legally, like HIPAA, confidentiality, things like that, talking about it by yourself in the car too. Yeah. Like telling the story as if you would tell it to a friend.
Yeah. Or I do it in the shower. When I was an advocate, I would do it in the shower because I would imagine as my words were releasing, the water was just clearing that person's energy off of me.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Yeah. It's a great one. It's a really good one.
Yeah. Also journaling. I feel like everything comes back to journaling, but just writing about your day, keeping a diary as if, channel your inner tween girl.
Yeah. I like to pretend, if you're like, diaries sound kind of lame, why would I write a diary? I like to pretend that my journal is going to be found by some archaeologist 100 years from now. And I really need them to understand every part of my life so that they can write a book about it.
I think about that all the time. And that, like, when I was a kid, this is how I was an anxious kid, was that I would write in my diary and be like, dear diary, and then immediately would feel stress about whoever was going to find my diary in 500 years. I was like, I have to be, that person has to think that I'm cool.
Yeah.
Like, what if that person thinks that this is lame?
Yeah.
Like, what if this person thinks that my day was boring? Or, So.
Performative journaling.
Performative
That
journaling.
sounds like a sign of solar plexus work.
Yeah, we'll tell that to 7-year-old me.
I will. But also voice memo, dumping your feelings, or just like talking, like Madison said, just talking to the air in the shower, when you're driving, especially if you have some sort of work where you can't talk about it, or like it doesn't even have to be work, but if you have like stuff going on in your family that is sort of like private and you can't share it, speaking that just to yourself in the abyss can help kind of move that energy through. Because what happens with the throat is like when we don't speak what's on our heart, and obviously like I was an advocate for 9 years, so I believe confidentiality is critical for a lot of different workplaces. However, energetically, if we hold all that in, think of like a bottle stopper, like a champagne cork on the throat. It's like everything gets bottled up. Mm-hmm. And your body ends up taking it and metabolizing it into often tension. So finding an outlet that you can release that, whether that is through singing in your car, humming, talking it out to yourself, journaling, therapy. If you are in a workplace that has some sort of like clinical supervision, right? Like talking to your supervisor about it, especially when you have those like harder cases that feel like they're really weighing on you, releasing it in some way, shape, or form.
And then if you're not one of those people that we were talking to who have some confidentiality, sharing publicly, vlogging, maybe our good friend podcasting, or like being present online, sharing online, talking on Instagram stories, making TikToks. This is where I naturally have to, Mom, here's your plug that you didn't ask me for, but I will give you.
Yes.
My mom is working on her throat because she started a podcast about the small town politics in Tarpon Springs, Florida.
I can't wait to listen.
And I really do think that this is throat work for her because there's a lot of frustration for her with maybe some choices that are being made in our local politics. And when you feel like you're not being heard or not being listened to, that can clog the throat as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't even put this on our list, but I feel like political stuff is so connected to the throat.
Yeah.
Right? Like going out to vote is a throat chakra practice. Mm-hmm. Going out and supporting a campaign of whoever you believe in, that is a throat chakra practice.
Yeah.
Right? Like sharing, with your friends or your families or online or whatever about your beliefs is a throat chakra practice.
100%. So if you'd like to listen to my mom practice her throat chakra healing, the Sponge Dockets can be found on all major podcasting platforms.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. I get a lot of questions about Instagram stories in particular. So I'm going to tell you the thing that helped me, because Instagram stories really did help my throat chakra, really did help me become more comfortable, just like not sharing online because I've been online for an extended number of years at this point, but helped me really share in a way that I was authentic, like how you and I would share, Madison, is how I share online now. So how I did this, people always ask me this question: how did I get so comfortable on Instagram stories? It's Madison's fault.
You're welcome.
Because we voice memo each other all day, every day. Like we have an app called Voxer, and we'll just send pictures and updates and voice memos. And like when she was doing spellcrafter stuff, she was too busy for me. And so my voice memos were going unanswered. So I would get like 5 or 6 like entries deep without her response. And I'd be like, well, I don't want to bug her. So then whatever I was going to send to Madison, I would put on my Instagram stories. So no matter what it was, right? Like sometimes it's about my business, sometimes it's about the podcast, sometimes it's about my dogs, sometimes it's about the books I read, like whatever. Mm-hmm. I would just throw it up on my Instagram stories as if I were talking to Madison. And you all, like the response that I get from Instagram stories is literally like talking to Madison. Like we have, you and I, as in the Instagram people who are listening to this podcast, who watch my stories, we are besties. We are besties. Like that is not a parasocial relationship. Like I feel like I know a lot of you because we're in the DMs all the time.
Oh yeah.
And that is my best advice for talking on your Instagram stories, online, or anything, is just pretend like you're talking to your Madison. Like it doesn't matter to me if Madison doesn't respond, because I know she's reading and she loves it and she will get to me when she can. That's how I treat my IG stories.
So you're all welcome.
You're welcome.
I did that for you.
All of you are into fairy smut now. You can all thank Madison.
Yeah, seriously. I feel like I've started an army. And then when you're all talked out from all of your sharing online and with your loved ones and alone in your car, a nice good throat coat tea is not to be underestimated here.
If I could snap my fingers and have any product sponsor this podcast, it would be Throat Coat Tea. Here's why. This tea, I think it's by like Traditional Medicinals or
yes,
something.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now because I actually have no idea what's in it.
Echinacea, lemon. One of them has lemon. The yellow label has lemon. That one's better. The red label doesn't. Okay, so I grew up a theater kid. I grew up in the theater.
If you couldn't tell.
There was one year. It was 2008. I was the Wicked Witch of the West in the Wizard of Oz musical edition. And I was also in the children's choir of Evita at the same theater. We opened the same night, which meant I did Wizard of Oz. I think I did like 2 performances of Wizard of Oz and then Evita after. All right. Very, very, very exciting year for me. Okay. Very exciting. I lost my voice the Monday of Tech Week and we opened on Thursday. And I was like, no. And I remember one of the cast members in Evita was like, you need to go to the store, you need to get throat coat tea, and you need to drink the entire box. And that I did. It was the first tea I ever enjoyed. I drank the entire box Monday, and Tuesday drank another box. Wednesday, for dress rehearsal, my voice was back, baby. My throat was healed.
Throat was coated.
So highly recommend.
This is another hilarious intersection of our experiences from vastly different points of view. Because I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the podcast because it's kind of something that I feel a little bit embarrassed by. But I was in a sorority at a huge Greek life Southern school.
I think we have talked about this, have we?
Okay, we must have.
Yeah, early listeners know.
Early listeners know. If you see me now, what I look like in this moment, it does not track for most people.
Okay, the irony is I also was in a sorority, so.
That is true. But recruitment for those big schools, all you did all night was drink throat coat tea.
Really?
Because you talk to people for 12 hours a day.
Oh, God. Yeah, we were not that intense.
Yeah.
I went to a much smaller school.
Yeah, the North is very different. It's like, I think something like 1,700 people go through recruitment.
We didn't even have that many in my school.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
We probably did. I don't actually know.
Yeah, I would say probably. But it would be all day. You're talking to 82 million different people. And so you're like taking NyQuil and drinking throat coat tea constantly.
I was drinking something in my sorority. It was not tea. I will tell you that.
Yeah, that was our most wholesome moment.
Yeah, I cannot imagine introverted Madison who's does not enjoy crowds or strangers doing that.
It is actually my life's magic moment because I never ever wanted to do it until like 2 weeks before I did it. And then I immediately met the people that I'm still friends with. The friend who has the baby who I got a tarot tattoo with last week, met in the sorority, and then promptly exited the situation. And now we're all still friends.
Yeah, I have the opposite. I'm not friends with anyone from my sorority.
Yeah, I think it either goes one of two ways.
I just had like a moment of like fear that one of them would be listening. If you and I were in a sorority together and you're listening to the podcast, I need you to just tell me. I'm not going to be mad.
Yeah, I just
I'm not going to be mad. I just need to know because I know a bunch of you follow me on TikTok and it's always bizarre to see you pop up under like people I might know and you're already following me. Just tell me. Just tell me.
I agree. If you're not one of the 5 people I'm still friends with and you listen, I also want to know.
I want to know because I'm not the same person I was in college. So I like, let's have a chitty chat. Let's see if we can be friends now, you know? Anyway.
That was such a sidebar for a very small percentage of potential listenership.
I thought about that a couple of weeks ago. I was like,
you don't think about that all the time? About who you know who might be listening? Oh, no. I think it constantly.
I've never thought about that.
People I went to high school with, maybe. People who don't like me, who I went to school with in some capacity.
If we have met in any capacity and you are listening to this podcast, I need you to slide into my DMs.
Especially if we have beef.
Yeah. If you hate listening to this podcast, just let it be known. Because if you don't let it be known, then you actually are a fan.
And that is throat healing. I want you to speak your truth to me.
Speak your truth to me.
Oh.
Anyways, the next one I want to recommend is Legs Up the Wall.
Lily, feel free to cut as much of that as needed.
Don't. Don't, Lily. We're not hiding our throat anymore.
You're so right.
Okay, the next one on our list is throwing your legs up the wall. I love this one.
I was very excited to see this on the list because it's not what I expected to see for throat. And so I'm very interested to hear you talk about it.
So good for throat. Okay, you lie down on the floor or lie down on your bed or even lie down on the couch. Throw your legs up. First of all, this is really powerful for your nervous system because it helps send that relaxation response to your brain. Contrary to popular belief, people will say this reverses the flow of blood. No, it fucking doesn't. You can't reverse the flow. If you reverse the flow of your blood, you die. All right? So don't listen to the people that are like, this is the detox. No. Okay? Your body does that on its own. Legs up the wall is powerful for your throat because imagine yourself in that position. Okay? Your legs are up towards the sky. So all of the energy from your root, all of that sense of safety, security, and belonging, and all of the energy from your sacral, that sense of creativity, pleasure, trust, intimacy, resilience, all of that energy from your solar plexus of strength, of confidence, of willpower, of personal power, and all of that energy of your heart, your connection to others, your joy, your love, your self-love is pooling at your throat. Gravity is literally pulling all of that energy from below to your throat. So then when you come up, you feel this, you can literally feel it. Like you might notice a difference in like the way your head feels or anywhere above the shoulders might feel different. And then you can have, like, imagine what you can do with that pool of energy. So if you are someone who needs to have a hard conversation and you're struggling with it, legs up the wall. A, your nervous system's going to be more relaxed. B, you're going to have that energy pooled at your throat so that when you have that conversation, you come from a much more empowered and grounded place.
Does that mean that handstands are really good for the throat?
I mean, yeah, in theory, I generally don't recommend handstands or headstands because they're really inaccessible to like 99% of the world. And it's a lot easier to hurt yourself than it is to, help yourself.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I can't do a handstand, so.
Me neither.
I was just curious.
Neither. I would also recommend too, if you're doing legs up the wall, keep your gaze up to the ceiling. Don't turn your head because you want to just protect your neck while it's in that reverse gravity position.
Do you remember those tables that people would use to lie upside down?
Oh, yeah.
Is that good for the throat? Are those good for you?
I don't know. I've never tried one.
Are those a scam? I remember being obsessed with them as a child, with the concept of them.
I just remember like going through yoga teacher training. I'm really grateful I went through the training that I went through because I see some terrifying cues in yoga classes from time to time, especially around headstands, handstands, shoulder stands, any of that. Like people are going to break their neck. But I generally, like my teachers generally either did very, very, very supported shoulder stands, like with support so that your neck wasn't crunched, or avoided it altogether because it's just like it's more likely to hurt yourself.
I have never even been in a yoga class where we went upside down in any capacity. That sounds very stressful.
I think it's coming out of fashion now, but when I started practicing yoga, and it depends on the discipline of yoga too, like the ones that are like harder, better, stronger, faster, hot yoga, blah, 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 are more likely to do it than like a yin class, you know? But yeah, I generally, I don't recommend headstands, shoulder stands for like 99% of the population. I would have to work with someone one-on-one before I was comfortable recommending that.
Also, to clarify, I was kidding.
I know.
Okay.
But I just got to put that out there because I don't want someone to be like, I did a headstand and I broke my neck and I'm suing Demystify Magic now. And then the next episode, we'd be like, this episode is brought to you by the law offices of Joe Bornstein.
Exactly.
Do you have Joe Bornstein down there?
I have no idea who that is. No, we have a guy who was on Survivor.
Interesting. Okay, so we have Joe Bornstein, who I think may have died, but he was like my favorite local celebrity growing up. As a kid, I was obsessed with Joe Bornstein. Don't ask me why. And then I went to Connecticut or Pennsylvania or something like that, and I saw the law offices of whoever the fuck in Pennsylvania, and it was Joe Bornstein's face. And I was like, who is this man? And I felt like my entire life was a lie.
So next, these last few all kind of work together. So I'm just going to kind of put them all in the same thing. And that is setting boundaries, being honest, and having hard conversations
With yourself.
with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking your truth, both with yourself and with others.
Remember, all of those energy centers below the throat are internal before they become external, right? And so it's like having those hard conversations with ourselves help us have the harder conversations with others.
Starting inward helps us build to go outward. And I think that can even look like going back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of like that joke of, practicing the argument 100 times over.
Mm-hmm.
Say all the things that you want to say out loud by yourself. Write a letter to the person that really hurt you and read it by yourself. There are some things I think that, are important to say, but aren't always important to say to that person. Some things are better left processed and said on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be just as important as like having it out and saying it to someone's face.
Sometimes I like to think of myself like on a reality TV show in the confessional.
That's a great one.
Yeah, because like you're able to process like your honest thoughts, but obviously you're not going to go to the characters in your reality show and say all those words that you said in the confessional, but the confessional can help you kind of like process what you do want to say.
Yeah, definitely. I love that.
I'm watching a lot of Love Island right now, so
another one that you're welcome for.
Thanks. Finally, we got some crystal and herb recs for you. So crystals, blue lace agate, my number one for the throat. I love it. I love her so much. She's such a good communicator, so good for dispelling anger, finding a sense of calm, feeling more collected before you speak. Another option is aqua aura quartz. A lot of people have beef with aura quartz. I just posted a video about this on Instagram, so maybe we'll link it in the show notes. But aura quartz is not dyed quartz. It is actually heated in a vacuum with a precious metal. And so it's bonded, that precious metal is bonded with the quartz. So in my opinion, the vibration becomes stronger because now you have the energy of that precious metal plus the energy of the quartz working together. So I love an aqua aura quartz for the throat, but if you hate aura quartz, totally fine. Go grab an aquamarine instead.
That's so interesting. So I learned that from your Instagram video.
Really?
Yeah. There's like not a ton of education on it, even on my side. And also our vendors just don't sell a ton of it.
Yeah.
And my truth is I do think it's ugly. And so I haven't ever, I know, I'm sorry. So I haven't done a ton of research into it.
Now you know.
All right. And then for herbs, I would say blue lotus, lemongrass, and ginger. And really anything that you would find in like a warm, comforting tea.
Throat coat tea.
Just a green tea.
Take a throat coat tea, rip it open, throw it in a simmer pot. You don't even have to rip it open in a simmer pot. Throw it in your bath.
Or make it into a quote unquote simmer pot and then drink it.
Drink it.
Sometimes
what I'll do is if I'm taking a bath and I want it to be a ritual bath, but I also want a cup of tea, is I'll just pour a little teaspoon of the tea into my bath water.
I love that. That's a great way to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Did we do it?
I think we did it.
Do you feel like you voiced your opinions?
God damn it.
Did you go ham?
If you want to use your throat, slide into our DMs and let us know what you thought of this episode.
Yeah. Or leave us a review. And again, if you know us in real life in any capacity, whatsoever, I need you to show yourself.
If we met one time,
show yourself. I like your pyrite nails, by the way.
Thank you. They're more green in real life. They're called antique gold.
Love it.
Okay.
On that note,
bye.
Thanks for listening to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison. If you want to learn more about us, you can find all our links in the show notes.
We'd love to know what you think of today's episode, so drop us a review or give us a shout out on social media. And don't forget to let us know your magical moment of the week. Okay, love you. Bye.